were torn apart. Their color was the badge of slavery. Bought and sold, often treated brutally, theirs was a hard life.
Already, while the war was still being fought, anti-slavery society sprang up. But the issue was not simple. In 1789, a machine called the cotton gin had been invented.
The one crop was cotton. Cotton was such an important part of the plantation system that it came to be called king cotton. The enormous amount of hand labor required to grow and pick the cotton was supplied by great numbers of slaves. This, then, was the economic background of the plantation. Cheap slave labor producing one main crop on vast tracts of land owned by the planter.
Cotton is the most important cash crop in the United States, where it is grown on nearly 900,000 farms. It is a fiber, in fact, the most widely used fiber in the world. There is no other farm crop upon which so many Americans depend for a living. Nearly 10 million of our people earn their living by growing, processing, manufacturing, and selling cotton and its products. The cotton ripens about 165 to 170 days after the time of planting. As the boll dries out, it splits open because of the pressure of the packed fibers inside. As soon as enough bolls are open, picking begins. The cotton belt extends across the southern part of the United States, from Virginia to California. In some parts of this area, the cotton crop begins to ripen in August. It continues to ripen in different sections until late December. Since very early days, cotton has been the most important crop in the southern states. It is still the principal farm crop of the South. A large amount of the cotton grown throughout the world is pickers go into the fields with long sacks hung over one shoulder. They go between the rows picking the fluffy cotton. The long sack drags along the ground behind the picker. Cotton is picked with both hands by pulling the locks of cotton out of the burr. The picker must stoop over most of the time in order to pick the cotton from the top to the bottom of the stalk. It is hard, back-breaking work. When the sack is full, it is carried to the trailer for weighing. Each crew of pickers works under a foreman who weighs the cotton. He also oversees the loading of the trailer. When a picker brings in his sack, it is swung on a field scale and weighed. The usual weight is about 70 pounds.
Slaves laboring in my tobacco fields. I trained whole families to care for the precious leaf. Slaves and tobacco are the source and heart of Virginia's great wealth, and let nothing interfere with our commerce in either. My plantation was a rather complex operation, with a wharf on the riverbank where ocean-going ships could load and unload cargo. I even built a mill.
And peanuts are a few of the crops that are changing the pattern of the plantation system. That system has been changing over a long period of time, but its economic and social patterns have left a lasting influence on life in the South. Today, if we visit a social gathering in the South, lost possession of their plantations. But the plantation system did not entirely disappear. Some elements of that system did not change. The land, cultivated for generations and still productive, remained. The source of labor, great numbers of Negroes, remained. The demand for cotton remained, and the growing of cotton continued. So the plantation system, in a smaller and modified way, continued and can be found in the South today. Much of the work is still done by hand. Much of the wealth still comes from one crop, cotton. Most of the workers are Negroes who live on the plantation. Today, the man who owns the plantation is called the land.
first slaves left Africa for the colony of Virginia in 1619. In 1700, Mr. Thomas Starks, a slave dealer in London, directed the captain of the ship Africa to take on a cargo of 400. He included the typical admonition, "Make your Negroes cheerful and pleasant. Make them dance to the beat of your drum." By 1727, there were 75,000 blacks in the North American colonies. By 1790, there were 10 times that number. By 1800, there were over 1 million. Blacks to nearly 19% of the population of the United States. A naive but well-meaning Thomas Jefferson said, "In music, generally more gifted than whites, with accurate ears for tune and time."